Hey, the motion.
The motion.
This also legalize prostitution. So the debate will start at 3:45. So good luck for the debaters.
Here.
Thank you for participating in this debate. On the motion that this House would legalize prostitution, we are honored to welcome the
Debaters to the Zoom. So without further ado, I want to call the Prime Minister to the podium. Here he is.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Restart. Okay.
So we want to justify prostitution. So by talking two things. So firstly, so that firstly for the financial view. So secondly, I'll talk about the body autonomy. So firstly, so that I talk about for the viewpoint of the financial finance. So that in current situation, so prostitution is also unlegalized, and so also but so we strongly believe that prostitution is is needed as a way to earn money for women who confuse money. So I'll explain why. So historically, so society is dominant. Society is dominated by men, and for example, so in the company, so most of the executives are the men, and also so other leaders, so most of the direction of the company will is decided by men, and also so that when women are working, so women will make marriage, and so some have a baby, so this is for such so those two things are very risky for the company because when they get married, so no thank you. So when they get married, so they have to so women have to women don't can't go to this company and can't work and contribute for the company. So for some reasons, so women are sometimes so risky to work. So for such reasons, so women are some differences. So as a view in employment or the promotions. So for such reasons, so women attend to confuse money because so the money they can no thank you. They can will be shorter will be smaller than the earning of the men. So to protect such women who confuse money, we should legalize prostitution, and we should give away. No, thank you.
Sir.
No, thank you. We should give away to money for women who confuse money. So.
How about now?
No, thank you. So, remember, second argument. So I'll talk about the body autonomy. So body autonomy means we can freely use our body myself, our own body. So and for example, we can freely do some silly things. So such as for example, we can smoke. There's some risk of the health but we can do so, and also we can freely commit suicide. No, thank you. As my example for such things, these things did not don't interfere as such things. We can do such things because we don't interfere other person's freedom. And also the politicians don't interfere other persons the freedom. So we can freely use their body on we can only use our own body. So this is that's why the prostitution will be applied in body autonomy. So no thank you. And from the past, some feminist movement sometimes thought about others. Sometimes thought about that. Such movement looks at the women to others very weak existence, which should be protected. But through such movement, some freedom on of expression of the body are limited. But we should change stance. Women should give more freedom to express our body, their body or their own body. So for such reason, we should give body autonomy for women. For two reasons, we strongly propose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you for the speech, and now we want to invite the leader of the opposition to the podium. Here.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we think the opening government is totally misunderstanding and like overlooking the overlooking the problem of the status quo about the like women's right. We think I'm questioning that, like how will you free like the women's in the status quo by like legalizing prostitution. So like they're like, supporting and trying to legalize prostitution with mainly two reasons. So first of all, they told us about like financial views, and what he came up and said was like it's really hard for the woman like after marriage to like find a job and earn money. So like what I wanted to ask you with my POI was, then do you mean that like you have to like give the women who are married and who are in a hardship of finding job, that you should give like their job as like prostitution? And we think that it seems like you're supporting that women, like encouraging those women who are getting hardship finding job to get into the prostitution work. So we think that it doesn't make any sense, because first of all it can it can break the family's happiness. So imagine like your wife is like after marriage like she's fired and she wants to get a new job, and you suggest, oh, because prostitution is legalized in our society, how about doing the prostitution to earn money? Do you think it does make sense? We say no, like it will first of all break the family's happiness, and also we think that it will directly lead to the like fall of the woman's right, and which will be elaborated in my first argument. So second of all, they told us about like the sexual self-determination, but we think that they're misunderstanding of the status quo. We don't think that the women who do the prostitution are not voluntarily doing the prostitution. They're like kind of forced to like do the prostitution because like as you told you, it's really hard for like for the girls and women to find the job compared to the men. So like they're kind of like forced, kind of victim of the our society's structure, which makes women find the job hard. So we think that, and also those kind of women, even though like they earn money by the prostitution, like those kind of women usually like have like mental diseases because like they think that they are like forced to sex with men and very like harshly. So we think that they don't have any like self determination or fulfillment by like doing the prostitution. We think that legalizing means like when you legalize something, we think that government think that it is a meaningful thing. And legalizing the prostitution as a real job means like that you have kind of like social and meaning, and you have to like feel some kind of like satisfaction by doing that job. But we don't think like those kind of prostitution only leaves the women the hurt and physically and mentally by doing that job. So we think that all of your argument doesn't make any sense. So what I'm going to like elaborate on my argument is, first of all, I like to talk about it will directly lead to the decrease of the women's right, and my partner will talk about the practical harm when we pass this motion. So first of all, the women's right. So we think that the prostitution, what is prostitution? We usually the men like pay some of the money, and they have kind of like right to like sex with the woman that he bought. So we think that these kind of notions that women are something that can buy and I can sex with, we think that when these kind of notions are spread, we think it will like rather worsen the status quo, which is the like very like low status of the women. So like and as I told you, like legalizing means like there's no problem of doing something. So the man will like even now, like the men who are doing the who like buying the woman to sex, like do not feel like any like notion of the problematic. But when we like legalize the prostitution, they will like even like deserve they deserve to like buy the woman and sex because I paid and I have right to like sex with you because it's legalized. So we think that it will rather I will take it later. It will make the woman's right decrease. And I like to talk about the specific environment, especially in the developing countries. Like the situation is much more worse. For example, there are many girls who are forced to do the prostitution thing because it is so urgent to like remain their like daily life if they do not earn the money, and there's no other like chances to earn money because there's no like education and no like good opportunity for the jobs for the girls. So we think that they are kind of like the very like victim of the society. Society. Yes, I take it.
We are more than happy to put prostitution into the legal framework to protect the victimized woman. How in your side, how you can protect these already be victimized?
We think that like do you know that like lots of monies are like circulating in our society for the like prostitution. We think that rather as a government, if a government really want to like increase the women's right and want to like protect, want to make the society more healthier, we think that like rather than like making people spend their like monies to doing the prostitution, we think that they have to at least responsibility to like support those kind of women who are in a dangerous line that are forced to do the prostitution. We should give them like more opportunity to be educated and finding like the good other like jobs. We think that is more like realistic and like better and much more healthier way to increase the women's rights. So with this reason, we strongly oppose. Thank you.
Thank you for the speech. Now we are calling the Deputy Prime Minister to the podium.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and how ladies and gentlemen Madam Speaker, we see, Madam Speaker, there is a big problem with the second wave policy based on the second wave feminism, which depict women as the women as a weak person, someone should be protected. The policy of second wave feminism that deprives the women's right to freedom of choices, especially on the body autonomy, as well as deprives the rights of the prostitution. That means that they are deprived the rights of the women to get money. That is a problem. That is a problem we believe. Therefore, we strongly believe that legalizing prostitution is needed to expand the chance to get the job for women, as well as expand the chance of freedom of choices, especially on the body autonomy. That is our stance. Before extending my partner's argument, firstly let me rebut to what the previous speaker's opening opposition said. They said that, they said that we are encouraging the women to prostitute, but we are not encouraging women. We are providing them. We are legalizing the prostitution, and we are providing one choice. You can do we are providing the prostitution as a one choice. So you don't have you are not be forced to commit a prostitution. Rather, we said this is one choice you can take. So this doesn't stand. Secondly, the day said no, thank you, please. The day said that sorry, the legalizing means that the fall of the women, that's because after taking this, according to what they said, women can be regarded something can be bought or something can be bought, but rather than we said that we are expanding the women's rights, especially we are as we are saying that we are expanding the body or the right to the body autonomy, the right, the chances to get a job. So our paradigm is better. Okay, moving on to our argument. That we have, as my partner already explained to you, that we have 2 points. The first point is the expanding the chance to get a job. Second is the body autonomy. In the first argument, my partner clearly explained why the male dominant society is too crucial for women to get a job. I will add some more points, especially I will add some more. I will add the few more points on that. As my partner already told you, that historically, traditionally, the society was male dominant. As my partner already told you, man likely to get more job because of the social norms or the, as my partner already told, no thank you please, the male dominant company are likely to employ the women because the male dominant company might see the women as a risky employee because of marriages or raising the children. So that means the women in the male dominant society, women have less chances. But after taking this plan, we are expanding the chances. So we are expanding chance to get job. Secondly, the body autonomy. My partners explained to you that we have a freedom choice. As long as we don't infringe other person's right, that in this case we don't have other person's right. But unfortunately, the policy based on the second wave feminism deprives the rights of women's choice because in the second wave feminism is like
Last chance.
no thank you. Like in the second wave feminism, like a Marxism, the second wave feminist sees the women as like a labor or weak labor or something. Sees a weak labor or something that they are exploited by the male. But in fact, the second wave feminist policy, in fact, the second wave feminist policy that deprives the rights of choices, women's choices, in the name of protection. This is a problem. But we say that. We are admitting the right to freedom of choices. That means after taking this round, women can use women can use her own body by her, as she likes, as she likes. So those reasons we are proud to follow this motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the speech, and now we want to invite the deputy leader of the opposition to the podium. Here.
Careful.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and hello everyone in this house. At first, we have to know that women don't want to do prostitution, and they don't proud of this job, right? And opening government said that today's society is dominated by men, right? But so government should. So I think government should give a lot of job or to women, and we have to make not gap between women and men. And opening government said, and the number of doing prostitution is okay. To number of doing prostitution is increase, but why number of doing prostitution is more important than the number of other job is increase. I told you that women don't want to do prostitution. So we have to remember this. And let me move on. And I will talk about the practice. What is the bad? Why prostitution is bad? And I will explain the practical harm. At first, it is not good effect to children's education, right? If we legalize the prostitution, many people and many children know the job of prostitution, and there are many people who and the women who do prostitution will increase, and maybe and some, in worst case, there are some people some girls who say I can be prostitution, so I want to do prostitution or something, because she don't know about the real prostitution, right? So it is very, very harmful to society and education. And second, divorce rate will increase, right? So open government says that the women who marry and who make children, and she will do prostitution, but it is not good. But maybe husbands don't feel it is good things, right? Because she will be she is bought for other man. So they think it can be a reason to divorce, and divorce make a lot of harm, right? So there are maybe the number of single mother will increase, or maybe women can be more can suffer from poverty. And third thing is even now especially developing country such as India or Malaysia or Philippines, there are many people, many women who do prostitution because they are suffer from poverty, and they from poverty. So they don't want to do such kind of things, but they can't live without poverty. So I think government should improve this situation, right? And in such country, if government legalize prostitution, more and more girls will do prostitution because it is good job. So I think these three reasons is why I think legalizing prostitution is harmful for women and for society. And my partner clearly told you that it can be. My partner clearly told you that women, if we legalize the prostitution, and the status of women will be in decline, right? Because prostitution is not good things. So we oppose this motion. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so now we end the opening half of today's debate, and now let's start the closing half. Let's invite the leader of the opposition is not a member of the government. 자연스럽소.
On our side of the house, we believe that no matter what the government does or does not, prostitution will continue, illegally or legally. So we believe that because prostitution still exists anyway, by taking this motion, we're actually providing these prostitutes with a better environment to work in. So anyway, I have three extensions within my speech. First of all, about the social norm against the discrimination against prostitution. Second, about the legal framework that can help the women have these prostitutes have a better working environment. And if I have time, another extension on the practical economics benefits that can come from this. Before that, several rebuttals to the opening opposition. The opening opposition insisted that women does not want to do prostitution. First of all, there's no basis for this statement. And second, there are women who want to do prostitution. These are the ones who have high sexual desire, who are good at sex, and there's no law against charging for doing something you're good at. And even if these women actually do not want to do prostitution, the only reason is that because nowadays prostitution is illegal. So if we legalize it, people will have more willing to do this. And also, they talk about how if we legalize this, prostitution will the number of prostitutes will increase till whatever. No, thank you. First of all, there's no. They did not clearly state the harm of prostitutes increasing. Second, even if it increases, it can only increase to a certain level. This is about a business, about supply and demand. Even if supply keeps on increasing, if supply keeps increasing, at one point it will reach like saturation. It will not stop increasing. So
before you go on,
okay.
Why is it that even in cases of suicide, which your opening says is legal, governments strictly regulate it, require you to get many doctors' opinions and so on, and do not give you complete autonomy even over your own body in those cases?
Well, nobody is stopping you from jumping off the roof. Okay, anyway, by first extension, nowadays there are many discrimination and social norms against prostitution. This social norm discrimination views the woman as a sex object. This has roots within since history, where women are seen as superior than men, as like the breadwinner of the family, men's like the basis of the structural the hierarchy. Like man is superior to woman, and woman can only live to satisfy men, and this continues on into days with the discrimination against this prostitution, and this also gives the burst the idea of like the Madonna division, where women can only be poor or can only be tainted. However, we believe that the woman can be both. They can be both poor and tainted at the same time. And by taking this motion, we are giving the idea that by legalizing this motion, the job of prostitution will be considered like a legalized job. Will view as a normal job, like a doctor, like a scientist, like a salaryman. This by normalizing the views of the people on these jobs, we are breaking the norm, breaking the norm that prostitution is the bad thing, and also because it is legalized, people can have more education, understand more about this profession, and they have more understanding. It also has the normalization of the norm, and also. It's not only the prostitutes themselves who are affected, but also those who are related to these people, like the parents or the siblings, are also marginalized by one of their family members or their friends being prostitutes. And by legalizing it, we're also saving those people, those related people, from being discriminated by the society. Second extension, about the legal framework that can help to provide a better working environment for these prostitutes. Because nowadays, of course we know prostitution is very, it's a dangerous job. Like people, this can be, this prostitute can be very easily abused by their own like owners, their customers, and the problem is, they cannot voice out the fact that they are being abused, because the profession itself is illegal, and because they cannot voice out, there's no way for them to change their working environment, to have a better working environment. However, by taking this motion, by legalizing it, we're giving these women a voice to speak out. No, thank you. To speak out so that the authority can understand the working environment, can enforce certain legislation that can better the working environment for these women. And also because the legalized jobs, like any other jobs, there will be the basic salary, there will be basic social welfare like healthcare, there will be retirement plans for these women. Do you all talk about, the open opposition talk about how women became prostitute because of poverty. But even being a prostitute, an illegal prostitute, cannot guarantee you a high-paying job because your owners can take most of your earnings anyway. However, by having a legalized job, you can have at least a basic salary that can provide you a basic living conditions. And also, because it's a very dangerous job in terms of health management, by providing the legal framework, we can provide enough health care to prevent STDs, prevent further unwanted pregnancy. Basically, we have a concrete system for controlling, for supporting these women throughout their professional career as a prostitute. And we don't see any reason why this profession is a bad thing that we need, that has to be illegal. That's why we're proposing this motion. Thank you.
Thank you for the speech. Now, I'd like to invite the member of the opposition to the podium. Here.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, given the women's social status, we should protect the women's body, and that's why we try to oppose this motion. So today's opening opposition explain the harm of the prostitution in practical level. That's why we will extend their such kind of harm in the principal level. So before moving substances, I have rebutted what the government side has said. So open government side has said they mentioned about they want to keep the freedom of choice, and they want to control they want to keep the body autonomy. However, his argument against the duty of government to protect the people's safety. So when people admit the freedom of choice, there is no serious harm for the other people. So in case the harm. In case that the harm exists, so we intervene the freedom of choice. So, for example, the hate speech case or something like that. In case of the prostitution, prostitution harm, of course, the harm for the other people by encouraging the sexualism, abuse, and human trafficking. So harms the principle that the body isn't a commodity. So other rebuttals integrated our substances. So we have three substances. So first is we will give you the counter plan, or second is the why we should keep the body autonomy by not legalizing the prostitution. Third is why power is power difference between the men and women. Means our principle with their closing government case their principle of the body autonomy. So I explain about the one by one. So first, we have the alternative one. We don't legalize the prostitution instead of the decriminalize for the criminal. So because when they prostitute the criminal the prostitute is protected by government. So we can protect women's health, and we can protect the women's right. At the same time, we can protect the women's right. So if we legalize, so government put more responsibility for them, because the more right, the freedom right will be occur individually. So that's why the more difficult prosecute criminal, the more protecting by government will decrease, and it is more harder for them to protect women's body for women. So second is why we should keep body autonomy by not legalize prostitution. So we in the principal level. So we have two analyses. First is why women should respect for body. So second is first because it is necessary for us to preserve the basis of privacy and the body autonomy. So body should not. That's why the body should not be able to brought and sold by themselves. So second is women's body and the light itself. So of course, opening questions has said even under status quo, no, thank you. The social status of women is lower than the men. So it is easier to for women to be controlled by men. For other result, for example, the rate will be occur or something like that. This. So after taking the plan, so by legalizing the prostitution, we justify the rape or something like that. So that's why to protect them and in terms of right and their body, we should prioritize to protect their body and right directly. So third substances remember substances. Why power difference between the men and women means our principle with the principle of the body autonomy. As I said before, our plan, we can justify the prosecute or the. For the reason,
Now I'd like to invite the government with to the podium. Here.
So we are living in the world of individualism, of the time now when your choice is up to your situations and your self-determinations. And the government have the responsibility to regulate like the backlash or the harm for your choice and support you in the first place as long as your choice doesn't harm the other. So that is a clear stand coming from a closing government for this debate. So in my speech, I will testify this debate in two main crash points. The first is about the principle of prostitution. What is the principle that the closing government exclusively tell you and like why there is stands in the debate? Second of all, about the legal framework and how it can mitigate the problem that the closing government like recognize in this debate, or about the integrators. First of all, about the principle of like prostitution. We as closing government, we believe that like prostitution is just like economic mechanisms. That like when now you have the abilities to do something, or you're good at to do something, or now you self-determine and see like you can earn and like you can self-benefit yourself or something, then you have the right to follow that kind of things. What coming from the opposition side are two regions. One, they talk about the woman right and the woman need protection. Second, they talk about the body autonomy and like something that is something the most valuable and that you need to protect in the first place. So let's take the which one by one. About the woman right, that is what we call the microaggressions in the first place, Madam Speaker. When now you just consider that a woman is like under the man and that they need to protect by the society. Like if like you do something that is bad for like the whole woman image, and like now you need like to do something to stop them from doing that. That is what we call microaggressions. What we aggressive here, that we aggressive with the people who have high sexual desire, who actually now self-determine, self-calculate for themselves, and I see it like prostitution is like the best way for them to actually earn money and self-support for themselves in the first place. We have to respect these women's choice as well. Then the burden for the opposition side, they need to prove for us that like, why now you consider only about the woman right as a whole, but like not actually like consider about the woman who like actually they want to protect the most, who is now being victimized because of the economical insufficiency of like the situations that like they have no other choice but like actually go for the prostitutions. Let us serve. Second of all, you talk like the closing oppositions bring out the point about like body autonomy, and they say like it's kind of something that's the most valuable and you cannot violate that. Then the question is like, why in the current situation we see so much model, also much the fashion star like just go like to the public, like let people take the picture of themselves and like then sell that for the money in the first place. And also the privacy as well. Pop star, they already compromise the privacy for like paparazzis to the media in the first place, so they can earn money. So it means like it's up to the people to actually compromise their body autonomy, to compromise their privacy to the society or to the other people. If they self-determine and calculate and see that like that kind of things is good in the first place. So given that, what is the problem that we see in this debate? That like we see like the prostitutions is like something that like in the current situation the women cannot determine by themselves, and like something that is actually happen, but it's in an illegal way that is harmful for the woman. So why is it happen in the current situation, Madam Speaker? As opening oppositions clearly depicted for us, because maybe one like they're living like in a very crucial situation and they have no other choice rather than like go for the prostitution to earn money in the first place, or choose because like they have like as my partner like described for you, they have high sexual desire and like they think like they're good at like having sex with the other genders and like they think like that kind of thing can benefit for themselves. That's why they go for the prostitution. Okay, go.
Is a society that puts women in that position where the only thing they can do to even survive is be a prostitute likely to allow them to be a prostitute under these conditions, which will make them prosper and have a brilliant life?
That's exactly the point. That's exactly the point I want to tackle it in the second point. But then before that, just go to how the legal framework gonna work. We acknowledge that like the illegal prostitution is happening. So what we're gonna do here is first we legalize that. We put it under the labor union. We say like, hey, now you need to consider about the working conditions, about the right of the women who work under the prostitution. We give them the basic salary. We work them like the safe environment. We give them the information so that they will not having any kind of like sexual disease or any kind of like problem being abused or being harassed by the men in the first place. We give them the respect from the societies in the first place. So now that is how it's worked, because now we mitigate all the harm that will happen in the prostitution. So my point here is that the prostitution prostitution itself is not the problem because it didn't violate any kind of principle that opening and closing operations bring up for us in the first place, but rather than that is follow the principle of self-determination of the human beings. So second point, why it is important and why it is the solution that we see it the most, as the POI from like Peter Kipp, he asked like why we just let them go into the prostitution rather than like solve the problem of poverty. Because in the context of developing countries, we are running out of cash to solving that kind of problem. We are running up the voice of the people who actually stand up for this kind of like victimized women in the first place. So what we're going to do here is like we actually put them in the legal framework so that when they receive the salary, some of the tax money coming from that can be support for the activity of the woman or like for activity to support the victimized woman in the future. That is to say now, their money is legalized, and like that's why they have the responsibility to give back for the government some part of this money, and this money will be used again like to mitigate the problem that are opening operations and closing operations want to solve the most. So what do I mean here? That like they seem very nice in their side of how they want to instead of like legalize prostitution, like to tackle away like the victimized woman in the first place. But that is just a theoretical issue because look what the reality is. We don't have cash to solve that problem. We don't have the power or like we have enough voice of the woman who in a situation to raise that kind of thing because all of them just go to the black markets and are suffering from illegal prostitution in the first place. So what we suggest here that is first to legalize that kind of thing. That when you legalize that kind of thing, you give this women under the legal framework, you give them like the voice, the right to voice up to the labor union. You give them the right to actually like voice up and like raise their problem to the government, and you give them the right to actually use their own money to support the activity, to support the other women in the current situation. So that's why if you want like to solve the problem of these victimized women who have no other choice other than go to prostitution, you have to go with the closing government in this debate. So what I give you in this debate, that what is exclusively coming from government. We say that like prostitution itself doesn't violate any kind of principle of human beings. The question is like how we actually like engage with that kind of job, and we say that it's better in closing government if we legalize. That's proud to propose.
Thank you for the speech. Now finally, let's invite our final debaters to the podium. Here.
교수님, final speaker for the entire camp.
A right is meaningless if you cannot exercise that right. And the law is a hollow scarecrow if you do not have the consent of the society, which actually is what makes up the government and stands behind that law to allow it to be enforced. And we see countless examples of this in history. You end slavery in the United States, you have 150 years of Jim Crow, where blacks are basically living in even worse conditions than they lived in under slavery. You end colonialization by European powers, and you have 100 years of economic imperialism, cultural imperialism, poverty, and war. You end the caste system in India, and you have 100 years of the Dalits living in utter poverty, unable to even enter the basic ranks of politics or economic success. You end the monarchy in China. You end the monarchy in Russia. And the people aren't ready to accept democracy, so you get a totalitarian one-party state. This is what government bench is proposing. They're saying, oh, well, we will legislate an end to, or we will legislate an allowance of prostitution, but what they will not get is an end to the abuse of women unless they can link those two things. They have to link their principle, and they have to have a social acceptance of the principle of respect for women in the job of prostitution if they actually want their legislation to have any impact at all. We say it doesn't. That's why in closing opposition, we've offered you a counter plan, which will do the job better. And we've also offered you a principle justification for why bodily autonomy, in fact, does not bring bodily respect, which is a much more important principle that Yasu explained to you. So I'm going to go through 3 clashes in this debate, and my rebuttals for specific arguments will be included in them. First, I'll talk about helping the prostitutes, the most direct stakeholder that is strongly influenced by prostitution. Second, I'll talk about the true meaning of body rights And third, I'll talk about a point that was actually a quite good one coming from opening opposition, but very much neglected, which is the status of women in society in general, because that is actually the linchpin. That is why our extension provides a mechanism that links everything together in this debate. So, first, helping the prostitutes. Why will legalizing it not work as well as decriminalizing it? Because the government, when it makes a law, it sends a message to society about the way society ought to change and the way society ought to think. And when you legalize something, what you're doing is you're simply saying, well, what we have in status quo, oh, suddenly we realize it's okay. You're not actually sending any kind of moral message. You're simply saying, go ahead and do this. Now, yes, they had a nice mechanism where they want to institute unions and so on, but in society, if women have no power, if they have no power, as their own opening said, in corporations, if these things tend to be dominated by men, and we see empirically that this is true, prostitution is actually dominated by the men who run the criminal cartels, who ship the women transnationally in terms of human trafficking, who seduce the people into it, who offer them the stakeholding capital to get involved, right? If we don't change any of those social systems underlying it, their unionization will have no effect. It will be a hollow doll that's saying, go ahead and do what you want, we've just said it's okay. But when we decriminalize and stop actually prosecuting the prostitutes, we are actually taking the same efficient effect in terms of allowing them access to legal services, in terms of allowing them a chance to go to the police when they're being abused, in terms of allowing them to break a criminal contract, in terms of allowing them to get their passport back if they've been trafficked. But at the same time, we're sending a message that we're still going to prosecute the crime and prosecute the client, and therefore saying it's wrong, and you have to change your concept, and you have to respect the woman's body and the woman's rights. So we have a clear comparative advantage on side opposition, brought to you by Closing, by the way, that overcomes not only the general principle of legalization brought by opening government, but also the specific extension brought by closing government and the specific tangible benefits that they hope to bring. And any POI on that, CEO, CG? No, you've lost. Okay. Right. Okay. So, the true meaning of body rights then, what is it? They say body rights is bodily autonomy. But again, this is another hollow doll that they've constructed, simply throwing out a few nice debate buzzwords, but not really explaining any of the links behind that idea and how that idea is actually implemented as a social construct that people can actually accept. We say that just like anything else where there's third-party harm, just like the analogy I gave to suicide, if there is a clear harm involved, that right is not an absolute right. It's a restricted right. It's a right that's granted in principle and yet regulated in a way where people cannot harm themselves and specifically also cannot bring that harm on others who may be sucked into the system without the same volition, desire, or understanding of that system. So, we say that instead the true meaning of body rights is that the body must not be a commodity, because in the private sphere, as Yasu said, the most private thing you have, that you have the most control of, is your body. It belongs to you. And if you allow other people to control your body, the whole basis of body rights and body autonomy is threatened. Because if you can't even control your own body, what other rights can you demand? But in our present social understanding of what a woman's body means, a woman's body is already a commodity. They do nothing to solve that problem. Women's bodies are controlled by men. That's what OG so nicely conceded to us when they said that men control the corporate structure, men decide what women earn, etc., etc., etc. Under CG's plan, men will still control the human trafficking structure, men will still control the prostitution business, and people will still be telling women that, hey, it's your problem to take care of your body. If you can't get a job because men won't allow you to, well, we'll offer you this way you can survive, but it's not offering women respect. So what government has to do is intervene in this case and prevent the clear harm and say that there is one thing nobody can touch, that's a body. Whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, a male prostitute, female prostitute, corporate executive, teacher, whatever, nobody can touch your body. You can't even touch your own body, because by doing so, you are telling everyone else that that's okay to do, and you are espousing the principle of commodification. And so here's the link to OO's arguments, which were quite good, although everybody tried to box them out, sadly, about how women's status in society in general can be helped. Because if we allow prostitutes to be a commodity, we're essentially justifying commodification of all women and all women's bodies, stars, people who let their pictures be in skimpy clothes be thrown around the world and so on. But if we establish that principle that the body is not a commodity, we're making a good start to improving women's rights as a whole. For prostitutes, for women, for a better society, CO.
Now the debaters come up and like shake their hands and go on.
We thank the debaters for your debate. Please shake hands and leave the room. We'll call you when the adjudication result is ready.
Why didn't you be Thank you. Even if you just slowed me down, I barely finished my speech in time.
And you suddenly ask it and
Debaters, welcome back. It was very hard to reach the result that we did. But first, before we give our feedback, we would like to thank you guys for trying really so hard for the feminism motion and listening to what we have to say in the morning round. So okay, how should we go about this? We're going to announce the winner results and then go into justifying how we came about to this conclusion. So the winner of this debate is the closing government. Yay. Okay. So how we came to this decision. Okay. So for us, it was a closing
bench win.
Closing bench win.
Closing half.
Closing half win because we thought because this is basically a motion that goes into the policies, and then so we thought that the stakeholder themselves, how they were affected and how they were being protected. So the prostitutes, how they were being protected was the main issue, and we believed that there was more extension, contextualization, and a bit more analysis upon that part in the closing half. So between the closing half, we were trying to figure out exactly how they were being protected and what the influence was. So the reason we gave it to the government side was because they were very clear on step-by-step analysis on how the legalization policy was going to funnel back into helping the women actually gain their rights, and they also explained how it was also going to tackle the issue of people's awareness by normalizing it, and they actually went into a lot of explaining into how this was going to happen. Whereas we really bought a lot of the arguments from the opposition side onto how this would impact the society and the results, and how it would really funnel back here too. But a little of what we were we wanted was the mechanism of how the decriminalization would happen. So we believe that there in the step-by-step of how decriminalization actually comes, it was very extensively explained in the whip speech, but we thought there was a little bit lacking within how it was explained into how the counter plan was first actually given. So yeah, that was the basis of our judgment. And
you still have half the debate to cover.
Okay.
Yeah, we were so divided.
Hold on.
And about our opening half, about the material given from the opening government, because they firstly mentioned about the body autonomy, which was kept mentioned by every other teams. So it was really good contribution to the debate, of today. However, we thought that there were still kind of lack of linkage back to the motion, and some of the base explanation about your arguments was kind of actually long under the real second movement of the feminism. So about that point, you can contact to Ayoug, then hear about what should you have actually given the explanation towards other teams about the like more qualification, a way to speak will be further. You can contact her, and then about the like opening opposition side. Yeah, we also thought that rebuttal towards the opening government side was really clear, and really it was good to hear about the about the like how it will be like making the harm on the society when we do the legalize, about talking about the degrading women's rights, and also about the like family, like other stakeholder family's happiness, and also about the child education, which was not attacked by the either of the opposition side. So it was really like clear and good contribution to the debate. However, because like moral analysis and moral like clash and moral like deeper like contextualization was like given from the closing half, that's why we couldn't give the higher ranking towards your side.
Can you explain why we are, why the closing, how the closing bench like did like more analysis than us?
Okay, so basically, for the opposition side, the link between like how the overall awareness that you can buy sex leads to women's right decreasing. I think it would have been better if like you could like tell us how that translates. Like if it's like so sex becomes like a commodity that you can buy, and also translate into like women's bodies being like objectified and therefore like being like bought and sold. That I think we could have seen a lot to that link. And also one of the things was that you explained that in the beginning of your DPM speech, you said that women that women would not have to have sex, and then women would not want to be prostitutes. And then in your first practical harm, you said that because of education, the women would know of it, and then they would want to become more prostitutes. Like more women would want to become prostitutes. So we didn't really see the linkage between like the beginning half of introducing how like people actually accepted how prostitutes were, and then went into explaining how that actually happened within society. Also how like the second part of the practical harm was that for married women who became prostitutes was that the husband would not like it, and there would be harm from like divorce and being a single mother, and they would suffer. So we understood that was an impact, but we didn't understand like what types of harm there was if like the husband didn't like it, or if a woman became like divorced, because it would have been better if you could have painted that picture of like the impact and how that actually translated. For the government side, it was that one of the main reasons was because it was a slight off translation of what the second wave feminism was. Second wave feminism is not depriving women of choices, but that was just like a basis of how the third wave feminism came to be. Second wave feminism itself was just more active, like radical feminism, and it would have been more persuasive if when you're talking about like the freedom to use your own body and the freedom to like smoke and like commit suicide, you could have. I think if you wanted to have it like step by step, it would have been better to explain what freedom of choice like was in like the fundamental level, and go on to link that to how that links with suicide, because that was rebutted by the closing opposition by saying that when it like invades like a third party and creates third party harm by like social message, then that's not like that's not provided to you by free choice. So if you had made that link, maybe there would have been like a bit more of like a shield, but that a rebut just went through, and so like Also, like, kind of like always linking back to the motion, you explained that in one of the rebuttals, you explained that through this motion, we are expanding the rights of body autonomy. But that's where you ended. You didn't go into how this would impact like women's rights and how this would translate back into society to create like a more equal society or whatnot. So like the final link would have been really good to say. Though we liked how you characterized the patriarchal society. And
Can I make a comment?
yeah.
I think maybe I already told Yuki, but I think Kenji was going to the bathroom or something. So I think, you know, in the member of
Right.
Gov speech, right, they were a bit wavering back and forth between their focus. Like some lines, like the line about how, what was it? I was just telling him, but I can't quite remember what I was saying. But it's sort of important to make it concrete. So give me a second. Okay, well anyway, they were wavering in their focus between this general idea we have to change social concepts and just more concretely, like we can alleviate some of the tangible harms that are being caused to prostitutes under status quo, because under status quo it's not, you know, it's just banned and it's all done, you know, in the dark as black market with no unions, etc. So in the member speech, I you know, got a little bit of wavering back and forth. Sometimes it was like a principal idea. I forget the line that like Hung had one really good line that was just totally focusing on principle. Oh, the Madonna versus, you know, the Virgin versus whore line.
Yeah.
But it was just a one-liner. It's like we need to change this idea and show that women can be both, and then, you know, back to practical harms. So the really good thing about OG, I think, is that your fundamental strategy was we totally need to change the concept of what a woman's body is and what a woman can do with it. But I think like in the tangible, like in terms of the concrete argumentation of how the policy would work, which wasn't really there, you didn't really give a model, or the results of the policy and how that would work, very thin and almost seemed like a, you know, almost ridiculously optimistic exaggeration that suddenly we legalize it and then, oh, all women get great jobs as being prostitutes and live happily ever after, right? That's what, what I think is good is that you realize that we do have to make a total like change in our conception. And so that's how we engaged with closing government as well, trying to change the whole burden of the debate. And I think in the whip speech, Hung pretty much responded pretty well to that and changed the focus more to concepts as well. And showed that the link, like you pointed out in your adjudication, they showed the link between how the practical steps do actually lead to a normalization of a different concept. So that's partly, you know, the difference, like, I think I told you guys too already. So anyway, sorry, I don't know if that helped you with your adjudication or whether it was just an interruption. If it was an interruption, sorry. Go ahead.
And also, like about the opening opposition side, you guys, like during your two speeches, you guys also consider that like prostitution is not good, and you feel like because it is not good, like women do not want to do prostitutions. So that means you guys also consider the fact that how like current situation in the like prostitution industry, like prostitutes are getting like damages or like having some like problematic situation. However, there was like no any like solution to protect them or how you can like make more better environment for themselves. There was a POI from the about like, so already there is some victimized women, then how are you gonna like protect? But about the like POI, your answer was like instead of like legalizing prostitution, maybe we can just give more like education, and just by increasing the women's rights direction, we can serve. However, it was really vague and only one line because there was like no any guarantee that like how the education will be provided and how you are gonna increase women's rights. So like we couldn't like hear any of the clear solution to protect really problematic current status quo the prostitutes are facing. So that's why, although like really like about your speech, like practical harm part was really good and clear and step by step. But since the motion, this also legalized prostitution, is came up because there is a problem about the prostitutes. However, there was no like any engaging or comments about that point, so we couldn't like get good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the end of our adjudication. We'd be happy to give you like individual feedback if there was any, but yeah, that's the last of our debate. Yay!
Yeah, congratulations!
I always have one more comment.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But can I? Anybody object? You object?
Please.
Okay. Oh, second wave feminism. Second wave feminism. I think you severely underestimate how important it was. It's not just sort of a more radical extension of what happened in first wave feminism. In fact, I have a different, even like it's sort of a very simple structure for understanding 1, 2, 3. First wave feminism is legal rights. Second wave feminism is opportunities, like equal rights, equal opportunities.
Yeah.
And then third wave feminism is equality of thought, right? So you have so what's the difference between a right and an opportunity? In fact, in my speech, I should have used that as another example. That's why we needed 3 more waves of feminism, and we still haven't reached equality, because first wave feminism legalized equal rights, but women still don't have them. Legalization is a hollow doll that does nothing when society, but anyway, whatever, right? So yeah, first wave of feminism is equal rights, right to vote, right to own property in a marriage, right to even have like a divorce or sue, legal status, whatever, right? It's rights, but you can't exercise those rights if you don't have the opportunity to also get a job or get an education or whatever. If schools won't admit women, if employers won't hire women. So second wave of feminism is equal opportunities, forcing the doors open for those opportunities to women through affirmative action, through what they call a really important example to think about is what's called Title IX. Title IX to like some bill, but everybody just calls it Title IX. It's like an extra clause. But the most important tangible result of that still exists now is that it requires institutions that have co-educational programs to offer equal opportunities in those programs to men and women. And it's especially applied to sports programs in universities, where like if a university has like 5 sports it offers men and offers scholarships for 5 sports, it has to offer equal number of sports and scholarships to women. So it's opening a whole new concept and a whole new door to what women can do, and then also tangibly providing a mechanism that makes it happen. So it's sort of like your extension for closing government in a sense. We're going to force equal opportunity. Once we have the opportunity and it's actually activated, it also changes the concept of what is possible. It provides role models, et cetera. And that's like done a lot for empowering women. And it's not just sports, but sports is what people often remember it for, because that was the biggest barrier where there was this concept that men, sports was a man's thing. Women don't even like sports. But once they opened it up, it's like, oh, women do like sports. They're good at it. It's entertaining. People will pay money to see them, right? All that stuff. So that's really a like paradigmatic example of what second wave feminism did, forcing equal opportunity to happen. But even equal opportunity isn't totally enough to change prejudice when it starts brainwashing people from the birth, and when you have microaggressions that put extra stress on them, that maybe discourage them or give them extra barriers. So third wave feminism is trying to change attitudes and psychology. But there's no clear way to do that because we don't even understand human psychology that well. So that's why it's diversified, I think. And well, plus the idea that now we have more diverse society anyway, so it's not just white women who are doing everything. Yeah. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure.
I totally generalized when I gave you mine, but
But
I think you should tell this to like the other people in the room too.
Oh, well, you tell them.
Okay.
I'm only like sort of a whatever attention hog if I'm sort of on my adrenaline high. Otherwise, I'm really quiet.
So can we? Hey.
쟤네
Okay.
들어도 될것 같아.
Yeah. Oh, they're outside?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
because they already finished it.
お疲れ様でした。
Oh,